Welcome back, my brave and beautiful humans, to another episode of Soul Hygiene. I have my wonderful new friend here with us today, and we just met, I think, like a week and a half ago, and have so much in common. But I just really wanted to introduce him to all my listeners. So this is Vinaya. He's the comic awareness catalyst, and he has traveled the world, and I'm just excited for him to tell us about himself. And we'll just have a conversation about spirituality, travel, wherever it goes. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sweetheart. So, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what made you decide to do what you're doing and travel the world and experience different cultures?
My heart made me decide that. When I was around 20 years of age, somewhere in the neighborhood, I forgot, I really understood or knew that I don't fit.
Mm.
And there must be more to life than meets the normal eye, what we just normally do. And so I took off to India overland and searched for something. I don't even know what I was searching for, but there must have been something. So
Mm-hmm.
always following my heart and cruising through India and Nepal and trekked and had amazing experiences, and also learned that, like, growing up in Germany, it seems like that's the only way it is,
Mm.
and that's the way it's been done. And then coming and seeing like many different cultures opened my eyes to, wait a minute, this is not fixed. This can be this can be that, and really open myself to just release my upbringing, so to speak. And at the same time, I was meeting some masters in India and started meditation. And so, bit by bit, released or became aware of the programs which were running in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And just awareness, we are free of it. Because then we can decide, wait a minute, this is my father talking right now. Do I want to play that game or not? And then I can, do I want to play that game? Or do I want to see what do I really want?
Mm-hmm.
So bit by bit, I became free of myself, I like to say. Freedom from oneself. The ego, the mindset of my former being, so to speak, got released and does not influence me anymore. Sometimes I take some good parts I like and live that. And in general, I always just look what feels right.
Mm.
And so I created, not created, I let create it. Makes sense. Something created my life amazingly. And traveling just opened my mind to many possibilities, and also being able to find out, is that part of me? Am I functioning like this or not? So there was many playgrounds to check out if that's me or not. What I'm doing now is basically a combination of these experiences and working with myself, on myself, and my love for crystals, which is like over 50 years. I'm a crystal freak. They're faster up the mountain than you will ever be, even if you're 10 years old or 50. It's like really amazing love I have for that. And hang on a second, I unfortunately need to plug in my computer. Anyway, and I also had always already a different outlook on life.
Mm-hmm.
And see differently. I could see what is behind the anger or the sadness, what was really actually true. And then with the combinations of crystals and learning tarot, I found my gift of helping people, shedding light on their paths, empowering them to live themselves, no holds barred, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
really their empowerment. And that is my passion. And I
That's
do that with
wonderful.
crystal readings.
So when you think of, so the show's called Soul Hygiene, and I know we had kind of talked a little bit about this the last time. How has your spiritual beliefs or your traveling, learning about yourself, how has that influenced your soul hygiene?
It brought me to a space of accepting my beingness, my soul, my that,
Yeah.
and accepting that and living that and loving that. No matter if anybody else loves the way I am or not, it doesn't matter to me anymore. That's the way I am. My being is. And for me, that is hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Clean off all the garbage which has been imposed on us
Yeah.
and have a clean, fresh, alive being. Soul, same difference, I believe.
Yeah. So has the experience, you've traveled the world. Last time we talked, you've been all over, and right now you settled in Peru for a little while. You don't know how long until you're led to go somewhere else.
Right.
Um, how has like the things that you have learned grounded you?
Oh, that's interesting. What comes to mind is that understanding that I'm not a German or this or that, and that I'm open to everything, made me, in a certain way, I'm at home everywhere I am, totally grounded in Mother Earth, connected with nature, grateful, and feeling at home because it's not Afghanistan who's my home or India. It's like in moments I'm there. The earth is my home. This reality is my home.
Right.
And I can swim like a fish everywhere and I have a great time everywhere. Mind you, I usually don't go to New York and places which are pretty intense because that's not where my flow goes. But feeling at home everywhere is just absolutely grounded. I can, yeah, that grounds me and connecting with nature.
When I speak with you, I get the sense that you're a very peaceful person. Um, are there times in your travels where you run across people who are very negative or can, kind of disrupt your flow a little bit? And how do you handle that?
Well, there were definitely moments where I thought I'm just done now. I had a screwdriver on my
Oh,
neck. Somebody wanted to rub me, and in India one time somebody my doorbell rings and I open the door and this crazy guy, we knew he was crazy, goes totally in earnest. You know, I love you so much, and that's why I need to kill you. And he was totally serious. It was like, oh, okay. How I respond is really different in the moment. With this guy, I was just starting to talk and talked him out of it. With the screwdriver on my neck, I had an emotional release, and they completely freaked out and just patted me on the shoulder and no, it's all good. And it's always different in the moment because when you're in the moment and can see what actually is happening,
mhm,
and when there is no fear of death, yeah,
mhm.
then I'm totally relaxed. And that gets transmitted over, and the people just change. And yeah, sometimes I get angry. specifically if you overstep my boundaries and try to force me what something to do, which I don't want. And in general, I don't have a story with problems. I don't see things as problems. They're just happenings. And yeah, like being present and not freaking out. Ah, he's gonna kill me, or whoa, I'm gonna, whatever. Solves the challenge or solves that moment into a beneficial way without me getting killed. And like I said, I'm not afraid of dying. It's just another adventure. And eventually I get to it. I have no clue when. Does that answer your question? It's like a way of
Yes.
looking at,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Because I was thinking, when I went through my 25 years of trauma and abuse, there had to come a point where I had to face the trauma, to face the violence, to face the negativity, and determine in myself how I am going to react to it. Because honestly, when you're in the situation, you don't always react correctly. I was always defensive, always, I try to defend myself or whatever by yelling back or whatever would come at the moment. Um, but I found even in my healing journey, one thing that I had to learn was emotional maturity. I had to learn that not everything I had to cry about, not everything was, tumultuous, not, I just had to ground myself and trust that God would help see me through it. And I just had to control my emotions. And when you were talking about that, I was like, that would be a very hard situation. I was in a situation a few times where during my trauma years that I thought that I was going to lose my life. And
yeah.
how I reacted at that time is way different than how I would react now. And I think that comes from the years of transforming your soul and becoming grounded and learning that emotional maturity and learning that, you know, there's peace, there's comfort. I'm not afraid of dying either. I've almost died twice and still not afraid of dying. But, you just come to that point, I guess, in life, that's a maturity. You're at a level above people where you're like, this is life. This is what life is. I'm going to handle it the best that I know how with the things that I have learned.
And see where it gets me. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like in the moment, being in the moment is the best approach to any given situation and not being identified with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not that I'm gonna die, my body or the body is dying. I'm not in trouble, there is trouble.
Yeah.
And then I see how the flow goes. And yeah, it's being in the moment and not having any fear.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, I think that fear is one of the driving catalysts of the things that the decisions people make and the bad decisions people make um,
Yeah.
is is probably fear and fear of the unknown, fear of what, is going to happen if they don't choose it. But I think that's another thing that comes with, like for me, going on my healing journey, that comes with healing, that comes with the maturity of knowing who you are, who you're grounded in. And no matter what, you know that everything is going to be okay. You're going to get through it.
Yes.
Yeah. So when, have you ever had like an instant where, you were completely at peace, you're nothing's going on, and then someone just interrupts your peace and try and not in a violent way like you just mentioned, but just like they almost want to take it away from you.
Yeah. I did a group, a rebirthing group a gazillion years ago. And after a few days, I was like 5 feet above the ground. I was so blissed out because so much stuff got released and became aware. And after the group, I went home, and my then girlfriend was really envious because I was so blissed out. So, very quickly, she did her best to bring me down onto her level. And she actually managed. The fun part was we both became aware of that. And from then on, that cannot happen to me anymore because I know that now,
Hmm.
that this can happen. We are not necessarily like staying 5 feet above the ground forever, that there will something happen and then we go down again. That kind of instance won't be possible for me anymore to fall into that trap. And understanding that I can't be on the fifth cloud all the time.
Right.
I can't be in all the time. It comes and goes. So if I'm again become the watcher and observe that, I'm not identified with the good or the bad, so to speak. I'm free. Then it's gone. And then something else comes. So yes, sometimes we get put back on the ground, so to speak, various circumstances.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Just being aware that, oh, that's why it happened. Ah, so that's not going to happen again because now I
and
know.
and that has a lot to do with being self-aware.
Yes,
You are very self-aware of what is going on within you, also being self-aware of the person that you're with.
yes.
So what would be some good advice to give to someone who's kind of in that relationship day to day? What is there like a particular or maybe a couple of things that you could just advise them on how to handle a situation like that as a person who hasn't had your experience? Do you know what I mean?
So if somebody is in a relationship which is not really functioning, and
Yeah. Yeah.
well, it really depends on the person, but in general, I would say if you are in a relationship which is not to your benefit, get out of it. Plain and simple. Why
Plain and
would
simple.
I? Why would I go and suffer? You know, there's no
Yeah.
point. In Germany, they have a lot of things. They have a lot of sayings, so many instances. One of my favorite is better an end with horror than a horror without end.
Hmm.
That would be one way, and it depends on the relationship. Another approach would be to really look inside and see, why am I together? Am I dependent? Do I want something which I can't get for myself? I think I can't get for myself. And then examine, become aware of the reasons why I'm with that person.
Yeah.
And then ask myself, maybe, can I change that? Like the relationship, okay, I'm very dependent and I want that person to like me. So I'm different than I'm actually are. So maybe it's a good idea to find out how it is when you are the way you are and see if that person still loves you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, yeah,
Yeah.
because, yeah,
Authenticity is very important. I on this channel really strive for vulnerability, authenticity, but being who you are and being real, I mean, why would you be anything else? But I know like there are a lot of people who do, suffer from that imposter syndrome. And I say suffer in quotes because it's, sometimes it's just a matter of finding out hey, maybe a therapist or just talking it through. So it's not really suffering. But um, there are people who deal with that mindset of not knowing who they are and feeling like they're walking through somebody else's life sometimes.
Yes, and that is deadly,
Yeah.
plain and simple. And what comes to mind is a nice little story. There was a king who had an amazing garden with different flowers and trees and everything, and well taken care of. One morning he goes for his morning walk, comes in the garden, every plant is dying. Whoa, what's going on? So he goes to the weeping willow and says, "Hey, everything is taken care of. Why are you dying?" And the willow said, "Well, I really would like to be like this pine tree, nice, straight, and tall." Huh. So he goes to the pine tree and goes, "So why are you dying?" "Oh, I would really love to have some flowers like the rose bush down there." Every plant wanted to be somebody else and was dying, except one, heart's ease, a bush. So the king goes like, "So what's up with you? Everything's dying and you are just in full bloom and happy and everything is cool." And the bush said, "Well, I figured you wanted me because you planted me. So the only thing I can be is the best I can be. And existence planted you here the
Yeah.
way you are. Obviously, you are wanted, you are needed, and you're perfect.
Yeah.
It's a matter of finding out what that is and knowing that everything, basically, I would even say there's a rule, so to speak. If you haven't worked on yourself or if your life is not really pleasurable and happy, is you can assume that everything you know about yourself is wrong. So forget it and start finding out what is correct and right for you.
I
And
love
then,
that.
then you can live a life of celebration.
I love
Of
that because that's kind of like what I went through when what I just turned that switch and said, I'm not a victim anymore. It was almost like I came into who I was supposed to be and started working on myself. And I would not have been on this journey of authenticity of who I truly am had I not like said, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to find this out. And had to take those steps to do that. But, in my 40s, it's kind of like, people people look at me like I'm weird or I'm behind in the times, and I'm like, but you know what, I would rather die knowing who I am at any age than have lived as somebody else or as a fake or a fool and never have challenged myself or been able to find my purpose in
Yes.
so I'm very blessed with the years that I'll have left knowing I am
And
God made me to be.
correct. And when we talked about fear before, if I have to forget everything I know about myself, because that's for my father, my mother, the priest, the society,
Mhm.
I have to go into the unknown. I have no clue. And that is scary.
Yeah.
And in my book, if I become aware that my life so far was fake, what choice do I have?
Yeah.
I have the choice to live like this for the rest of my life and drag myself to the grave, or see what is there behind the veil, who am I really, and go dancing into the grave. That was an adventure. Holy schmoly. That was great.
Yeah. And that's truly like, I want to die with peace. I want to die knowing that I did what I, was born to do.
Yes.
Ultimately, even though I went through all these things, I got on the path that I was supposed to. Because I always say it's not, I think it's the old saying is it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yes.
So at any point in time during your journey, you can take that path that you're supposed to be on. So I think, just being able to talk to you and know like you have so much experience and traveled so much and you're so grounded and peaceful, that gives me hope. And I know it'll give other people hope that it's possible. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
need for us to live in turmoil every day. There's no need for us to be inwardly victims and outwardly showing that victimized mindset. I mean, there's no reason for it. We can be grounded in who we are. We can find our purpose. We can be the person that we were born to be.
Yes.
So I think that just gives me hope that you have found that and that, you know, you live in that peace and you're helping other people. Every country you go to, I'm sure there's someone, even more than someone probably, that you just affect in a very positive way. So you're out there changing the world literally.
And we all can do that by being ourselves. And the funny part is, and it's what you just basically said, you don't need to do anything. Okay, I do readings and coaching to accelerate things. And just being yourself, other people go like, whoa,
Yeah.
yeah, there's more.
Yeah. As we close out the show, is there something that you want to just leave as, just an encouragement to other people?
Just look at me. If I can do that, you can do that too.
Yeah.
And yeah, a little bit of courage, or not really. It just takes following your heart. And if it feels right, right is a wrong word, but I guess you know all what I mean,
Yeah.
what I have to do. And if it does not feel right, I definitely not going to do it, no matter what my mind says. And just become more aware and like maybe one exercise for the end, which is like amazing in my book. It gives me every day just like this wow experience. I just take a minute or two and look outside or be outside.
Mm.
I'm conscious of my breath and then just look around and take everything, all this beauty in and feeling this gratefulness of being alive and having a body and being allowed to experience all that. In the ups and downs, it doesn't really matter. And then being grateful for a second or five, just, thank you. For me, it's an amazing moment. It's like the highlights of the day always when I'm consciously connect and see and feel how wonderful that actually is. And that in this moment, there are no problems. It's
I
all perfect.
I think that's where you and I like we completely agree on that. Because I wake up every morning just grateful. And when I go outside and see God's creation, if I'm having a bad day, I hear the birds sing or I see the trees or even the snow. Even the snow can be precious. So yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. And I so appreciate you being on the show. And I hope you'll come back and visit us sometime. If people want to reach out to you, how would they reach out to you?
The best would be my website,
Okay.
psychiccrystal.com. And then I'm on Facebook and I'm on, what do you call it, Instagram. Not very often because somewhat it's, I'm learning. No, not learning, I'm like kind of stepping more into that. to
Yeah.
be open. And yeah, the website is the best, and
Okay.
all my contacts are there.
We will put all Vinaya's contact information in her bio, like we always do. And I really, really appreciate you for being here. And please come back and visit us. It'll be interesting to see where you're at on your journey and your travels and everything like that. So thank you so
That.
much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Soul Hygiene. We'll see you later.